Elon Musk is taking a group of advertisers to court. Musk alleges that a, quote, massive advertiser boycott lost his company, X, billions of dollars in revenue and violated antitrust laws. X filed this suit in a Texas federal court against the World Federation of Advertisers and member companies, including CVS Health, Unilever, Mars, and Orsted. It accused the advertising group's brand safety initiative, the Global Alliance for Responsible Media, of helping to coordinate a pause in advertisers after Musk bought Twitter. On Twitter, Musk wrote, quote, "We tried being nice for 2 years and got nothing but empty words. Now it's war." Musk was reacting to a judge ruling that Google is a monopolist and violated antitrust laws. This is what the CEO of X, Linda Yaccarino, had to say. Let's watch.
Hey, everybody. I was shocked by the evidence uncovered by the House Judiciary Committee that a group of companies organized a systematic illegal boycott against X. It is just wrong, and that is why we are taking action. Today, we filed an antitrust lawsuit against the Global Alliance for Responsible Media, 4 of its key members, and the World Federation of Advertisers. These organizations targeted our company and you, our users. The evidence and facts are on our side. They conspired to boycott X, which threatens our ability to thrive in the future. That puts your global town square, the one place that you can express yourself freely and openly, at long-term risk. People are hurt when the marketplace of ideas is constricted. No small group of people should be able to monopolize what gets monetized.
The lawsuit is the latest effort by X to restore its ad business that tanked when Musk took over. So, boycotts are generally covered under First Amendment freedoms, the freedom of speech. Kind of hilarious that Musk talks about free speech all of the time but wants to sue people over a boycott. I'm curious about the antitrust angle of this lawsuit. Is this an anti-competitive action? Because these are consumers of advertisements. They purchase ad space. So they're not competing for ad space. So this idea that this is somehow antitrust, I looked at what one of the FTC antitrust attorneys was saying, and they said it's a hideous joke. The antitrust laws, essentially don't apply here. And it's not a question as to whether or not Twitter lost money. The question here is whether Twitter was competitively disadvantaged by their actions. And there's just no evidence in this complaint they were competitively disadvantaged. If people don't want to buy advertisements there, you can't force them to.
Yeah, I mostly agree with what you just said. I mean, Twitter was harmed by the decision, this conglomerate of advertisers that work in concert and decided not to be on Twitter did harm Twitter. However, there's no right you don't have some right for advertisers to work with you. Advertisers can make it ends up being a First Amendment issue, as you just alluded to, can make the decision not to advertise on your website. You can't compel someone to do business with you to advertise on your website. If you could, that would violate the First Amendment. So I think this effort is very much doomed and is not a good idea. I think calling to attention the coordinated efforts of not so much, and also focusing on like CVS itself is totally wrong. The advertisers are not consciously making these choices. They have devolved their decision making to third-party advertising, overseeing safety watchdog type groups like the Anti-Defamation League and like Media Matters, who came up with these, in my view, totally wrong-headed idea that X is a uniquely harassing, bad place, that there was so much hate and it was getting worse, and they used very bad metrics to demonstrate that. And that persuaded the groups that speak on behalf of the advertisers not to work with these companies. They should be called out. They should be exposed. If it ends up being where it's like, the disinformation trackers, that it's State Department funded, that should be desubsidized. But at the end of the day, you can't compel CVS to advertise on X if it doesn't want to. If it's deciding not to advertise on X based on a faulty premise or based on information that is bad, that information can be corrected in the public square should be corrected. If people have slandered X or made slanderous claims, they can be sued for that. But you can't sue a company for not advertising on your website at the end of the day. Obviously, you can't. So
Yeah.
it's not an effort that's going to succeed.
Yeah, I think as much as, CVS can be influenced, this is a huge company that can make its own decisions around where they advertise. And if they wanted to advertise on X and, the Global Alliance of Responsible Media said, we have some concerns about X, they could still decide to do so. This is not a binding relationship.
Right. But they've outsourced, the companies have largely outsourced this decision making to third-party watchdog organizations that I find to be wrong-headed and ideological. So it's more a point about educating the advertisers
What do you mean,
about who
watchdog
they're,
organization?
like Media Matters and the Anti-Defamation League and other disinformation tracking groups, and this conglomerate that's this Brussels-based organization that it's a board representing them that gets together and says, oh, we've decided it's unsafe to be on Twitter. And I'm saying, well, what is that? What is your information? Where are you getting that information? How are you quantifying unsafe? And that's where I think a lot of the assumptions were faulty. Again, that's not so much on the advertisers. I think with better information, they would not necessarily choose not to advertise on X. But whether they choose to or not is not a legal matter, is not a point on which they can be sued, obviously.
Right, yeah. Companies in the past have been hurt by advertising on websites that are allowing misinformation to run rampant. So, yeah, if there's a company that's tracking where there's a lot of misinformation and they're saying, hey guys, if you don't want your ad to run on a video, that might be about whether or not the shooting in Sandy Hook was real and it's an Alex Jones video. A lot of people say, why is this company advertising on this video? And it can hurt the company. So it's a business decision at the end of the day.
But a lot of that kind of tracking, that's the exact kind of tracking I'm getting at, because some of that is misguided. For instance, I've called attention to this many times on Rising, so forgive viewers if you've heard this one before. But for instance, the magazine I write for, Reason, we were put on some list with some more conservative sites of unsafe websites that this fact-checking organization, the Global Disinformation Index, wanted you not to advertise on our site. And one of the reasons for that was they said we were spreading, or another site, they accused us of the Washington Examiner maybe, was spreading racist misinformation about COVID by having run an op-ed by someone who said COVID probably came from a lab. So they are fact-checking. They were saying you're unsafe and advertisers should not work with you because you featured commentary of someone taking the opinion that COVID came from a lab. So that is a incorrect fact check, I would argue. That is not misinformation. The organization doing that is acting in bad faith or is wrong-headed. So advertisers should not take their cues from that organization. If an advertiser decides not to be on the Washington Examiner, again, it could be, you can't sue the advertiser for not doing that. What you can do is call out the organization that caused them to make that mistake. And that's where I think the focus should be.
Right. So this lawsuit is essentially baseless. But do you think Elon Musk made the decision to move to Texas because he's more likely to get a judge that is friendly to his arguments? Or rather, the laws will be applied in a way in this case that it's more friendly to X?
Yeah, I have no idea if his residence changes where the case. I just don't know that aspect of it. That's a good question. That's interesting. I don't think. I think this case will not go well for him because, as we've pointed out, you can't. It's just pretty ironclad that the advertiser has a First Amendment right not to do business with you. Yeah, maybe you get a judge who creatively rules differently. Republicans have been embracing a more broader understanding of antitrust. They were just really excited about this Google decision the other day that we argued about, and I actually ended up arguing it with Amber Duke, our Fridays co-host. I do a show with her on Reason once a week, and we had the same argument that you and I had. So it's a rare situation where you and her would have agreed, and I would have disagreed. The conservatives have embraced more of the antitrust agenda in a way that I actually think is very damaging to some of their other first principles. But we'll see if they find a Republican judge who will buy what Elon Musk is selling here.
Yes.
I think not.
Anti-monopoly when it hurts companies.
Right.
A monopoly of consumers. Okay, sorry.
More Rising right after this.